Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Silvia Cadena. I am the head of programs of the APNIC Foundation, and it's my great pleasure to moderate this session today about development of the internet in the Pacific. The session is going to have 5 different projects and organizations that are going to discuss and share their experiences about what it means to do what they're doing and what is the impact and the achievements that they have gotten so far, and as also discuss a little bit about the challenges that they have. So I think this session is quite interesting, and after all of these technical presentations and training and social events and all of that, to try to go back and reflect a little bit about why are we doing this and what the internet can do to support the development of our countries, our economies, and in particular in the Pacific, what are the challenges and the opportunities that they face. So with that, I want to call Andy Ruga Nongas from NICTA in PNG. She has been extensively involved with the development of the Internet Exchange Point in PNG with the PNG IXP project as part of NICTA's role as facilitator since its inception in 2014 to its launch in 2017. So she's going to share about the experiences of the IXP in PNG. Please come on up.
Thank you, Sylvia, and a very good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would like to convey my thank you to APNIC for giving me the opportunity to attend the APNIC 46 event, and also to our lovely hosts for your warm hospitality here during our stay. I am Andy from NICTA, and I'm very pleased to be here to share on NICTA's role in the establishment of PNG's first neutral IXP. This slide shows a brief on PNG's population, including some stats for both fixed and mobile broadband. The journey of the PNG IXP began in 2014 with a policy dialogue facilitated with the support of ISOC and key experts. The dialogue was done in consultation with industry, where initial discussions held related to internet development in PNG and the proposed next steps that industry could take to address some of these issues. The following key issues were highlighted during the discussions, including the current roadblocks for PNG, touching on local infrastructure and local content development, amongst others. Taking into consideration the issues raised and outcome of the discussions from stakeholders, the following recommendations were put forward as a consensus. PNG to consider establishing a neutral IXP in one of its key cities, initially in Port Moresby, then Lae. Once a decision was made to establish a neutral IXP with a clear mandate and scope, a series of capacity building workshops were to be planned with the support of ISOC and key experts. The following year, in 2015, NICTA facilitated a workshop for industry stakeholders with a key objective to secure a minimum of 3 signatories from operators to the PNG IXP Charter as a demonstration of industry's commitment to gain ISOC's support to the project. The IXP Charter sets out the high-level best practice principles by which the IX will be managed and operated, and promotes neutrality and multilateral peering. It also encourages the membership of internet content providers, including banks and web hosting companies, to share in-country content for free, contributing to the growth of the IX. ISPs Digitech, B-Mobile, and Global were among the first 3 to sign the charter following this workshop. Then came 2016. ISOC successfully conducted a best practice and technical assistance workshop in support of the IX development. A key outcome of this workshop, amongst other things, was an IXP setup checklist, as well as the IXP startup equipment specifications. 2 subcommittees established from the IX membership, each responsible for the technical and governance aspect of the IX, was set up as a follow-through from this workshop, in consultation with ISOC. A peering switch for the PNG IXP was donated by ISOC during this time as part of this support. Towards the later part of 2016, NICTA was introduced to the APNIC team by ISOC, who were keen to partner with and support the development of the PNG IXP project. As a follow-through from the previous workshops by ISOC and a precursor to the PNG IXP's commissioning scheduled for the second quarter of 2017, APNIC facilitated a technical workshop on internet resource management, routing, and IXP best practice. An important part of this workshop content involved an IXP demonstration, which required the assistance of voluntary ISPs from the PNG IX membership to establish connectivity to the IXP. The live IXP demo was a success and added to the growing momentum towards the planned PNG IXP establishment. PNG ISPs Digitech and Daytech, who had volunteered for the IXP demo, also agreed to permanently maintain their respective connectivity to the IXP beyond the workshop event. Noting ISOC and APNIC's collaborative effort and key support to PNG's ICT industry, the PNG IXP's operational launch was held in April of 2017. The inauguration of the PNG IXP soon followed on 17 May 2017 and was commemorated as part of PNG's annual celebration of ITU World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. As part of NICTA's facilitative role, the PNG IX membership was also formally incorporated as the PNG IX Association, a not-for-profit legal entity with the mandate to manage and oversee the operations and administration, amongst other things, concerning the PNG IX. ISOC and APNIC have also played a key role in the collaboration between the PNG IXP and CDN operators, including Google, Akamai, Facebook, and ISC for the F-Root node. The PNG IX Association has successfully entered into formal agreements with each respective operator since its formal incorporation. Google is now peering with the PNG IX on the AS that you see written on the slide for cacheable content only, while Facebook's hardware is currently undergoing installation in country. To date, there are 21 signatories to the PNG IXP Charter. This is the PNG IX's total data exchange graph for from last week, which has been shared with me by the PNG IX Association, and it clearly shows the benefits for PNG. ISPs connected to the IX provide a much better end-user experience with local content being shared free across the exchange. Over 1 gig of traffic locally is a massive achievement. Out-of-country cache providers have provided connections to the network, giving the IX members direct connection to this content that is now stored in country. International CDNs are expected to deliver benefits of up to 2 or more in terms of traffic ratios. During the process of establishing the PNG IXP, the community also had its fair share of challenges. trust between service providers, building a culture of trust and emphasis on neutrality was key to bringing competing ISPs and the wider ICT community together to establish the PNG IXP. A neutral venue to host the facility. Although several venues were initially considered by the IX community, it was eventually agreed that NICTA would host the facility. To date, NICTA has offered the IX room space, including power, cooling, etc., at no cost to the PNG IX. Technical expertise, network engineers from competing ISPs worked together to set up the IX under the assistance offered by both ISOC and APNIC. The success of the PNG IX is very much attributed to the collaborative effort, support, including donation of hardware received from ISOC and APNIC, who have been instrumental in helping the local community in PNG deliver this critical infrastructure. There has also been unprecedented support and cooperation received from the PNG IX Association and wider local community in the form of hardware and other resources, including voluntary assistance, required to help set up the PNG IX. The establishment of the said facility is particularly an important milestone achievement as it brings the government of PNG, through NICTA, a step closer to achieving high quality and affordable broadband services essential for future social and economic development in PNG, as set out under the National Broadband Policy. It is envisioned that this facility will serve as a key driver for further innovation and development of internet services in PNG. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Well, because of all the presentations are quite different from one another, we are going to break for questions at the end of each one of the presentations. So if you don't get off the podium, so if anyone has a question for Andy, any questions from the remote participation? No? No questions for Andy? Well, I have a question for Andy. Andy, how important was for NICTA the community building that was required for the establishment of the IXP?
Thanks, Sylvia. Well, the concept of the neutral IXP was initially introduced in 2014 in our community, but the IX itself wasn't actually launched until 2017. So in that itself, you can already picture our journey. It took 3 years. From day one of the project, it was always important to NICTA to build and develop that support in the community as facilitator. In our experience, building that support was work and actually time intensive, but it grew over time. And in between, with the help of ISOC and APNIC, we also conducted outreach in the form of best practice and technical workshops as a way of building that momentum and getting the local community to work together to establish the IX. I think our local experience can be related to the phrase that goes, setting up an IXP is actually 80% human and 20% technical.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Andy. Well, we want to welcome to the stage now our folks from Vanuatu. Oh, sorry, John, I didn't saw you there.
The microphone isn't on. Now the microphone is on. Hey, I just wanted to ask, in your opinion, how important is having content servers on the IXP for getting people to participate? Is it a little important or the most important thing?
Thanks, Jonathan. Yes. Thanks, Jonathan. Like I mentioned in my within the slides, the charter actually promotes for local internet content providers to actually join the IX or become members. So the IX Association, in collaboration with NICTA, we have been doing a lot of lobbying locally, especially to the banks and local web hosting companies to actually, come in and join the IX so that they can help build that content locally
Okay, no, I'm speaking about external content such as the Google cache. So is the Google cache the reason you have 26 partners in the IXP, or is it because they really all want to peer together?
Yeah, I think the IX Association itself is actually doing a lot of work in when you talk about the number of signatories that are now party to the charter, have been doing a lot to actually lobby for people to actually come in. But yes, you're right. The fact that the international CDN operators are going to come in does play a part in pulling members into the IX membership as well.
Thank you.
My name is Titus.
Yes, Titus?
From PNZ, I have a question with regard to the internet cost in PNZ, which is high.
Yes.
You as the national NECTA, the telecommunication regulator, now that IXP is in, what are your plans for your cost in terms of lowering the internet rates and all that?
Thanks, Titus. The IXP was formed or established under the basis of the PNG's national broadband policy, and that policy actually drives and promotes reduced retail internet rates, especially, and increased quality of service for internet. So this whole process is building towards that. So I hope that answers your question for now, Titus.
Hi, Joe Benz from Samoa.
Joe Benz.
I'm just wondering if NECTA had to put down the whip on the ISPs in the startup, because from Samoa, the ISPs tend to not want to work together. If NECTA had to have some during the startup, did NECTA had to force, or no, I don't want to say force, but put the whip down and bringing them together?
Yeah, I think to NECTA's advantage, we actually have a very good working relationship with industry, and this has further strengthened that relationship through such projects. So to answer your question, in the start, no, we did not have to force anyone to come to the table. In fact, this project is community-driven, so it's voluntary. No one has to be here or not be here. So everyone is here because they see the benefit.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jones. So thank you, Andy. Now we are going to pass we're going to invite to the stage Dr. Basil Leodoro and Stephen Leo from Vanuatu that are going to share about the project Vanuatu Vital Network to Save Lives. So Dr. Leodoro is a consultant general surgeon of the Northern Provincial Hospital in Santo, one of the islands in Vanuatu. His interests include pediatric surgery, telehealth and emergency and disaster response. He's actively involved with the training and teaching of health workers on a daily basis, and he's the president of the Vanuatu Medical Doctors Association and the Vanuatu Association for Public Service Employees. Nurse Stephen has been a nurse in Vanuatu for 8 years, and he's from Maewo Island, which you may have seen on the news recently with the volcano eruptions. He's part of the community team that maintains the internet connection on the island, in addition to his nursing duties. It's not uncommon for him to be delivering a baby 1 hour and then next be on the roof checking the Ubiquity radio that transmits internet connection to the school. So talking about multitasking, that's it. He is also the chairman of the Emergency Operations Cluster on Maewo Island, which works to help the evacuees who had to relocate to Maewo Island when the volcano on neighboring island of Ambae began to erupt. His interests are learning how to use the internet in ways that can help patients' care improve. So please welcome them.
Thank you, Sylvia, and good afternoon to us all. I think, I hope that hasn't taken into account our 15 minutes, but disclosure, first of all, we both come from the health background, and it's an honor and a bit intimidating to come and talk at this conference, but I think I put it to you that in the course of this presentation, you'll get two unique perspectives. One is that this is a community-led initiative that is literally saving the lives of our people on Maiwo Island. And the second thing is that one of our biggest challenges is being able to write well enough to get financial support for Vital Network. And so I'll start off by saying we're very grateful to our APNIC and to our partners and to people like Alexis Cullen, who has helped both of us to be here. If you don't know where Vanuatu is, we're the closest neighbor to New Caledonia, but we're also a limited resource country, and most of us have very little experience in working with partners and working with organizations such as APNIC, so it's an honor to be here and to listen to all the presentations that have gone on before. The idea behind the Vital Network was to link up aid posts, dispensaries and health centers to urban hospitals, essentially, provincial referral hospitals, you might call them. This is an example of what we have to work with in Vanuatu geographically. It's a country of 280,000 people with 80 islands, spread out over a vast ocean, as most of the Pacific Islands are, and many of you are already aware of some of the unique challenges we face. In the picture is what Vital Network has done for us already. It's allowed somebody like myself, in between cases, in between surgery, where I'm the only surgeon at the hospital, to be able to attend to cases in between that come from people like Stephen working out in the rural health centers and in the aid posts and dispensaries. And Stephen will go on to discuss a little bit more about Maiwo and a little bit more about some of the work that we're doing. But it's certainly something that has changed the way that we practice health services in Vanuatu, and being able to connect up to the global community through internet connections has certainly led the way forward for improving healthcare for our people on the island of Maiwo, but also around Vanuatu. So I'll let Stephen take over from here.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next slide shows us where I'm living. Okay, so here's the health center where I'm living, and then there's a road up to the mountains, and then down to the east of Maiwo. There's another health center here. So this is the place where there is no network and people living in here. No internet. We have our companies of network there in Vanuatu, but this area hasn't got any network in there. So this video shows the remote area carrying a patient. So this time there was no truck, no transport, so they have to carry a patient from that area up the mountain to where I am living now. So you can't hear the sound, but they're all crying while they were carrying the patient. So this is the road. This slide shows the networks, the companies who usually produces network in Vanuatu. And as I've said, the area which the people living in the east of Maiwo, they do not have this network in there with them. Okay. This slide shows to compare the people living in the remote area where I'm staying. So, in the capital of Port Vila, of Vanuatu, this is where we have specialists in there. So here is the remote area in the islands. So when we have the emergencies, so we have to send them over to Port Vila to get the treatments in there. So this is a network. This slide shows us the MTC, Maiwo Telecommunication Committee, which is set up for the people who are living on the other side of the island, where we have seen in the picture they were carrying a basin. So the people of Maiwo think they also need the benefits, health benefits, as we all want. So we built a tower, thanks to Pacific and OGCIO for helping us. So the special thanks to TRR, OGCIO, and Pacific, who have helped us to build a tower in Naviso for the people it makes it easier for the people living in Naviso to take the patient up to to where I'm living in Kerepe. So as you can see, this is in Naviso. As we build the internet, we installed the internet in the clinic in Naviso, so it becomes the community access point of the internet. Scopes of services in place and benefits. This also says places where we lived, we have created a group with the doctors, especially Dr. Basil. As you can see, he has explained the first photo. The next photo is my colleague who is living in Naviso. So this time when we have any emergency patients, so we just use the internet to connect to the doctors for any help, care to the patients. This slide shows the communications. Since August 2016, where the Maiwo Telecommunication Committee set up, to the January 2017. So as you can see from the charts, we have planned out the outreach. Also the places where there is a low range in them, that shows the nurses who are on leave, so they do not use the internet. Just because the people around the village, they do not know how to use the internet, so only the nurses know. So when they got for a lift, so that's why we have low range in the graph. The next one, the green color that we see, is the visiting doctors. When the visiting doctors team came to Maiwo, so that's how they they took the data and uploaded it on the graph. So as we can see, we have visiting teams coming over, and then we use them for the message. Okay, this slide shows the communication content breakdown. So on this group, we call it the vital network with the doctors. We use mostly the chat in messages, and then we have video calls and photos, and the next one here shows the languages we used. So we used Bislama most, and then English, and also the Maiwo local language. The next graph, sorry. The next one shows the care of patients. That would be blue, the blue one here. Relationship building, and then the administrative and public health and education. That's how we used the internet. The statistic shows that the internet we used, we have 30% of the patient care messages requires reservation response. That would be 168 out of 544 patients. All patients have been ranged from 5 months old to 75 years old. And 6 of the cases out of 33, we have life-threatening conditions. So we have to send them over to both Lucanfield in Santo and in Port Vila. Here are some photos of the patients we sent them. So here is the antenatal complications. So we have to send the lady over to Port Vila. Also, we have trauma. That would be this one. And with our new case, the evacuees from Ambai. This is the volcano, as you can see. So we all have to deal with it through the internet. Sustainability of the internet, we have to, as you can see, this is the health center. This is the health center, and we have a tower up here, a repeater station up here, that passes the internet down to the school. So building that, installing that, only the communities, we involve the communities to do that. So our going forwards, we need the capacity of the buildings, we need more capacity of buildings. We also need We also need the telecommunication equipment prices. In Vanuatu, we have solar prices, which is very expensive, and then the power that we use is not too expensive, but we need financial support for our internet, to sustain our internet. Thank you. I think that's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So anyone has a question for the project in Vanuatu? seeing someone coming to the microphone.
Good afternoon. I am Vic Kalag from Philippines. I have noticed from the graph that it is there is always a need for a human intervention. Can we replay the graph? Yeah, that's one. That's the one.
This one?
Next, I think. Okay, so as shown in the graph, when there were minimum or when the number of communication is very low, it is because there were no nurses and there were no doctors, right? So I think one of the opportunity here is maybe develop a content wherein the patient or relatives or end users side can do it by themselves, even without the nurse or without the doctors. Did you get my point? So I mean, area of opportunity is that for common cases, maybe a database of these illnesses can be stored online, and those people in the barangay can probably find a treatment for this kind of cases. So meaning we will minimize the nurse intervention or the presence of nurse in the site. So they can do it by themselves. They can perhaps diagnose and provide the right treatment. So just an input. Thank you.
Absolutely agree with you. One of the research collaborations that we have going at the moment with a university in the US is to try and look at that and to see how we might get the community involved and reduce the dependency on one or two single people each time to keep the network up and running. So we are looking at some of the initiatives, you could call them, to try and get the community more involved. And other options might be that the community is able to access through the Vital Network, is able to access the doctors themselves directly as well. So that's something we're definitely looking at.
Any other question? Paula?
Good afternoon. My name is Paula from Tonga. Thank you for this very good presentation. I think you touched the core critical issues in the Pacific Islands, increasing of digital divide. Although the fiber optics is arrived every each countries, however, the internet is in the urban area. The rural area, some people are there, but the internet is not there. The electricity is not there. So this is an issue. I'm a security background, but continue on the security without touching the increasing of digital divide is an issue in the Pacific Islands. So the question, how do we decrease that issue? The company, the investor, not invest in the rural area because there is no return from that. But this is a life in that area. So anyone have a solution or model, please share with me. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Paulo, you put it very well. We're currently challenging that perception that there is no return to be gained by breaking that digital divide and getting those services out to the rural communities. We think ad hocly from what we gathered through our research so far is that even as soon as the tower or satellite becomes available, there is a huge uptake of personal devices, communication. I think that flows in line with what we're trying to do in terms of education. And there are farmers talking to each other now because we have internet access available in the rural areas. There are other smaller businesses planning with each other just because they're able now to connect with their own mobile devices. So I definitely agree, and we hope that through some of our research we'll be able to challenge that perception that if you don't take the services out, you're actually hindering rather than progressing the economic activity, you could argue.
Ulrich Speidel, University of Auckland. Just wondering, have you had any contact with the World Health Organization in Port Vila about this? Because I know that they're also facing problems when they've got field teams out in the Pacific Islands, and that includes Vanuatu, and they can't sort of contact back to base if they're investigating things.
We have had contact with the WHO office in Vila. At the moment, with activities in outbreak disease on the neighboring island of Pentecost, we haven't been able to help them in that regard. But the WHO is aware of the VATL network, and we hope that we can find a model that works for the other islands as well, so that for information like surveillance data, disease outbreak, we'll be able to use the network to get that information in. Other partners in health are also using similar technology. There is an initiative to use drones that is being carried out in Vanuatu on the neighboring island of Pentecost, to use drones to carry blood specimens and medication across. So that's also something that I think the WHO has been involved with. We would like to see the World Health Organization a bit more involved in this sort of telehealth and e-health activity, because I think, as Paula rightly said, that's going to be the way forward for many of our rural communities in the coming years.
Thank you. I'll actually mention that to their head honcho, whom I happen to know privately, so good to see this happening here. Thanks.
Thank you, Ulrich. Well, thank you very much to our colleagues from Vanuatu for joining us today. Big round of applause. So if next one is Saia Baipuna from Tonga, and he's going to share with us about CERT Tonga 2 years on. So Saia has a long career in public service, working for the Tongan government for 16 years. He later joined Shoreline Communications, who is now owned by Digicel. He's the head of the CERT in Tonga, taking the role since February 2017, and he was involved in the creation of the CERT since the very beginning. He developed an interest in cybercrime and cybersecurity after he accompanied a bunch of prosecutors and lawyers, and he was asked to translate the computer and IT lingo to them, and then in the end, he managed to change his interest to cybercrime and cybersecurity. Welcome, Saya.
Thank you, Sylvia. On behalf of the delegations from Tonga, I would like to thank APNIC Foundation and APNIC for making it possible for us to be here. Thank you. Just an overview of my presentation. From what I can see, you're not all from the Pacific region, so I'm going to give you some background information on Tonga. And then I'll go into number 2 and 3, which are initiatives that led to the establishment of the CERT, and then I'll cover what we've done so far and also the challenges that we faced or are facing. So just to give you some pictures of Tonga, and hopefully you don't leave the room to go straight out to the beach. I might have had some pictures of Samoa there in Fiji, but let's just pretend it's Tonga. Actually, Tonga is one of the few countries that you can swim with the whales. Before you ask me, no, I don't swim with the whales every day or ever. If you come to Tonga, you might be lucky to also swim with a mermaid. She's actually a marine conservative activist. I think her name is Hannah Frazier, and she was doing her photo shoot in Tonga. But those are real whales. You might recognize this guy. He's broken the internet twice. He's the flag bearer for Tonga. And ladies, all the guys in Tonga, they look like that. There's a few that don't, and we're all here at the conference. But that's because we are in ICT. And our bosses sometimes think we do actually break the internet. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Tonga is right there, those scattered dots next to Fiji and New Caledonia. We have a population of 108,000. The main island is Tongatapu. That's where the 73% of the population are at. The internet penetration is 46.2%. Facebook users 43,000. That's about 40% of the population. So for some people, when you say the internet, they think you're talking about Facebook. We have two telecom operators, TCC, which is government-owned, and Digicel. We have 3 ISPs, and then we have a few banks, 2 who offer online banking and also Visa, debit, and ATMs and FPOS. Sorry. In 2003, Tonga was connected up to the submarine cable. Over here you see the Suva Tonga, the Tonga Suva connection. So that was commissioned in August 2013. Later on that year, the government of Tonga recognized that along with the promised benefits of being connected to the fast internet, that there would be some challenges. So they established the Cyber Challenge Task Force. It's a partnership between government, NGOs, and private sector to coordinate approach to technology. Included in terms of reference were regular reporting on cyber activities and trends, develop national programs, localization of awareness materials, and someone must have advised them that it'd be a good idea to have a national cert. In 2014, Tonga was invited to accede to the Budapest Convention. As most of you are aware, that the Budapest Convention is around cybercrime. It's about harmonizing legislation to assist international cooperation in catching bad guys doing hacking and malicious activities on the internet. So as such, Tonga became one of the priority countries under the GLACY project, which is a project funded by the Council of Europe. And what it aims to do is to build the capacity of the agencies working around the criminal justice system so they are able to prosecute and put away cyber criminals. Part of this capacity building is a lot of training and workshop and conferences for those agencies, so police, prosecutors. And what they realized from these workshops and conferences that there is a gap in the ICT knowledge within the agencies. But when they had these workshops and conferences in countries like Sri Lanka and Mauritius, they saw that there was institutions such as the CERT that assists with criminal investigation for law enforcement. So they wanted to have such an agency in Tonga as well. So fast forward to 2016, after many workshops, and the Deputy Prime Minister at the time, Honorable Somaleni, sent a request to APNIC, to Paul Wilson, to see if they can assist in setting up a CERT for Tonga. So they sent the A-team in the form of Adley and Clay to do a workshop, 2 streams of workshop for the governance and mandate of CERT and the technical operations. So at this workshop, they were able to have the high officials for the CEOs of the telcos, the Attorney General, the Commissioner of Police, and they were able to decide that, yes, this is a good thing to do, and they would go ahead with it. So in July 2016, CERT Tonga was launched, and over here is a sample of the terms of reference. So the vision is this: a safe and secure digital environment for the Kingdom of Tonga and its citizens, and its roles and activities include computer incident handling, issuance of security warnings, security awareness campaigns, and digital evidence handling. Here's a sample of the organization structure that they thought that the CERT should have. There would be a board, and then the CERT manager and the team would answer to that board. And also they would have interagency liaison officers from the ISPs and central bank. But so right now the easiest place to put the CERT was under the ministry responsible for information and communication, under the Department of Information. So the core activities of the CERT are divided into 5 main areas. The first one is to provide secretariat to the Cyber Challenge Task Force that I mentioned earlier. We do proactive services, reactive services, forensics for the police, and also internal management and administrative. So the progress so far, at the Secretariat to the Cyber Challenge Task Force, we also do proactive services like we subscribe to threat feeds, and then we are able to advise our constituents on vulnerabilities and threats that we get. We also do advisories and bulletins. We use our website to push out information, and also Facebook and Twitter. Funnily enough, on our Facebook page, it's not just Tongans that are following the Facebook page, it's right across the Pacific. And also, because the materials that we push out is in Tongan and English, it's not just the Tongan in Tonga are following it, it's also the Tongans in New Zealand, Australia. We also do awareness and outreach workshops to the outer islands. And also through APNIC, we do training for the ICT community. We do reactive services and also forensics for the police. On the funding side, the government of Tonga pays for our salaries. And at the beginning, we were fortunate enough to receive funding from ISIF to set up the CERT, and also we secured some funding from the Australian DFID Cyber Cooperation Program to carry out some awareness program and also capacity building for not just the CERT team, but also to the ICT community. We also benefit from the Council of Europe, the Glacier project, by doing workshops in Tonga and attending workshops overseas for capacity building around digital forensic and electronic evidence handling. Other resources that we have, the Tonga Cable Limited offered us office space. They also host our website and email. And Digital has also offered some equipment. Our HR team currently doing a certified training, online certified training, and also take part in work attachments and workshops. Currently, one of our team members is currently attached to the CERT New Zealand. We also have some partnerships with NetSafe Inc. in New Zealand, Waikato University, CERT Australia, CERT New Zealand, and we also have great working relationship with APNIC. And on domestic front, we work closely with police and Attorney General, also the telcos, and all the ICT community in the other sectors. The challenges that we face, the numbers, at first we thought that 3 was a good number, but I think a 5 would be a better number to work with. The technical knowledge, we need a lot of technical knowledge so that when we respond to incidents or when we are reaching out to the constituents, we are able to help them and clearly explain to them what the issues are. We also have some equipment challenges, mainly due to funding and also awareness. At the beginning, it was awareness that we didn't exist, but recently it's awareness, they know we exist, but to clearly know what we do. One of the workshops that we had, I was talking with some CEOs from the private sector, and they said, oh, this is good. It's good that all this training and awareness about cybersecurity, and I was happy. And then he said, because you know, all that stuff on Facebook is getting really bad. And then, yeah, okay. That's not really what we do. So to even confuse it even more, because we are involved in a cyber challenge task force, we have a video that we push out on the local television around awareness on social media safety. Thank you.
Whapapau I maupe o ke ilo i tō taha ko friend follow mo i social media. Whapapau I maupe ko tō taha tonu o ko friend o ko ona hi moa mo lai tā. Tokanga maupe ki ngā ata video o ko hiki mo waiwahi i social media na hoko ko hanea te whatomala i angai. Matua, mahuinga au pito ke mukau mai ki tokoni me tata lai whare ki whanau, whikawaki ma ngahi pore o teknolosia mo ngau ake o internet. He, ami noke.
So any questions for our colleague Saia from Tonga? Ulrich.
Right, sort of knowing that you're an economy that's sort of gone from a very, very narrow band and badly overloaded satellite connection that made it virtually impossible to run any serious attacks on any end-user machines in Tonga simply because the attack vectors wouldn't have gotten through, to a really nicely and well-working fiber connection now. Knowing that people who've been in that sort of situation in the past, that they've had a very, very thin link to the outside, they very often turn automatic updates on their machines off. And have you got any insights on what's actually happened in terms of people turning this on? And what are you seeing in terms of machines being compromised in Tonga as a result of there now being a lot of inbound bandwidth that allows attackers to actually attack end-user machines in Tonga?
So that's like two questions. One question was on updates.
Yeah, basically, like, is the Tongan PC and computer fleet that was previously protected by the fact that you didn't have a particularly good internet connection to the rest of the world, is that now a fleet of sitting ducks? And are you seeing a large amount of compromise attacks happening there? Or have people cottoned onto the fact that they're exposed to threat really, really quickly, and are they securing their machines? So do you see people regularly updating their antiviruses? Do you see people turning on automatic updates on their Windows machines and so on?
Okay, I'll answer your question on updates. There was a cyclone this year in February, and after the cyclone, the local ISPs allowed everyone to have free internet access, and the malicious activities went up high. So we couldn't explain it, but what we thought it was that because the devices that hasn't been connected to the internet for a long time are now connected to the internet, so they're probably being attacked or doing some botnet activities. But one of our messages that we push out now is for people to update their devices.
Thank you.
Any other questions? One more.
Hi, so Laurent from Lagoon in New Caledonia. It's a very interesting presentation on establishing a CERT. What will be the advice for people who want to set up one in terms of the steps you need to go through and the time frame to establish it and to have it running?
I guess the advice is for the stakeholders to come together and describe what they want out from a CERT. And then depending on what they want from a CERT will be the time frame to get those stuff in place before the launch.
Other question, in the way of establishing the CERT, you talk about training. Is it easy to find a training to set up a CERT, or it's by yourself you have to shop around and look what others have been doing?
So as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of MOUs with universities and people like EPINIC who help us. So we get some advice on what training to take. Some are free, and then through the grants that we get, we pay for some training as well.
Thank you.
Hey, big fella, Tashi from EPINIC. Just out of curiosity, wanted to know how inclusive or diverse the CERT team was. Does it have folks from ISPs, folks, not just government folks? So do you also have folks from ISPs who actually run a network, who have lots of visibility? Your CERT team, what does it comprise of in terms of diversity, the industry diversity?
The CERT team, when we were all there, two of us were from government and one was from the ISP. But at the same time, from the organization chart that we had, we also had the liaison officers. So all the ISPs have liaison officers that we meet, or the contact person. When we have incidents, that's who we contact. Because sometimes when there is an incident, we need to preserve the evidence because it's volatile, and so we just make that phone call to our liaison officers to preserve it, and then the official warrant or whatever.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Joe Benz from Samoa. Is there any issues with CERT being under government? Have you had any issues from the private sector that CERT is under the government?
You asked that question last time I gave this presentation. It's the same answer. No, there's no issue.
No issues. Okay, my last question. Where can I find the mermaids? Thank you.
Come to Tonga.
Thank you, bravo. Well, we still have two presentations to go, so I'm going to skip to the introductions and ask our dear friends from Papua New Guinea to come to the stage. They are going to share with us the experience from Mstred Holdings Limited that is deploying community Wi-Fi services in rural PNG. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I want to say thank you to Sylvia and Tony and APNIC for inviting us to be here to be part of this APNIC community, and we are more happy to be here, and of course seeing our wonderful, friends and family, our Pacific Islanders and new faces as well. So thank you very much. And of course, Amstrad Holdings Limited, we are more about the people. And we are here to share with you what we are doing to achieve some issues that we have back in Papua New Guinea, especially out in the outbacks of the cities and in the rural areas. And we more focus on schools, health services, and the community as a whole back in the rural villages. So today our presentation will be in twofold, where I'll share with you what is our idea behind these, what we want to achieve, and the challenges, and Harun will also take us through the solutions and the resources that we leverage on our technology to provide solutions. And maybe some of these solutions we can be able to, share with our Pacific Islanders also. So Amstrad is an internet service provider in Papua New Guinea. We're small but very diverse in our operations, and we also have our foundation that we go around helping the rural people in the villages. And, Yes, and our project is about rural community Wi-Fi in Papua New Guinea. And today the presentation, I said earlier, is us. There's two of us, but we people behind Amstrad, but we have a very young, energetic, vibrant team that comes together with us to go and achieve what we want to do for the rural communities in Papua New Guinea. So basically what we are trying to achieve today is rural community Wi-Fi. And the project that we took on board is because when we travel around rural communities, we know there are so many challenges that they face. There is no access to internet. So what Amstrad is all about is to bridge the gap. And we want to bridge the gap so that we can be able to provide opportunities and create those opportunities for our villages. And there's so much potential out there that they can be able to leverage on to sustain themselves. And of course, when we give internet to our people in the rural areas, there's also, they'll be able to provide, be able to communicate with the world that is out there. And I think there's a lot of challenges we face when we're doing this thing as well. And in order for us to give them that access, we must be able to also understand the issues and the problems. And that is why we go into the communities to be able to make an impact in little ways that we can, using the technology that we have through our internet that we provide. And we focus more on schools. And when we go around the villages, we see that there is no resources for the schools in the villages, and also for health aid posts in the villages and the community as a whole, where farmers can be able to access to sell their cash produce and connect with the buyers out there to be able to make business and sustain themselves as well. And of course, we look at economic empowerment. Like I said, we want to help farmers, the fisheries, and everything back in the rural areas where there's so much resources out there that they can be able to leverage on using the internet to actually help themselves, sustain themselves, and be able to look after their families as well. And one of the things that we also do is to create business opportunities. We go around the community, try to find very active people who also want to run businesses. So we have this model where we want to start networking with small, medium enterprises, and of course give that opportunity to the villages to run their own business as well, so they can be able to be resellers of our Wi-Fi that we are rolling out slowly. And of course, there's so much that we need to do. And one of the things, distribution of services. We want to make sure that we reduce that inequality that we have. So what we receive in the city, we must be able to provide in the rural areas. 43 years of independence that Papua New Guinea is going to be, and we're still struggling to provide services back in the rural areas. And that is where we come in to go, and we love to create our own opportunities. We love to create our own challenges, because that inspires us to come and look for solutions to go back into the community and help them as well. And access to information is also very important. And I know that we're all IT, and we need our internet to make sure that we work. So why don't we provide that solution back in the rural areas? And I'm sure that, my Pacific Island members and families here will also share the challenges that we have together. So, of course, Papua New Guinea is big with 8 million people, and there's so much challenges there when we are trying to roll out these rural Wi-Fi communities. And of course, our challenge is that when we're trying to roll out this project is, of course, when we go to rural areas, there is no power. And of course, the high cost of, services. Everything that we do in PNG, it costs money. And we need to make sure that our best solution that we want to get is that to try to provide something that is more reliable and affordable for our communities back in the rural areas. And monopoly. Of course, we have big players in Papua New Guinea and small ISPs like us. We are unable to, compete with the big monopolies because there's policies that also actually are not flexible for us, small ISP, to go and compete on an equal level, playing field as well. So we need to look at those issues back in our country to ensure that, there is an equal playing field for everybody else. Communication, I'm not sure how that end went down there, but anyway, communication is one of the challenges that we face as well in the rural areas. Of course, there's no power, there's no good coverage, there's no access. So it makes us, for people like us, trying to help and connect with the people at the community at their level to see how we can be able to communicate effectively and understand the problems so that we can be able to go in and identify issues. In order to get to one village, we have to get on the plane, we need to get on the PMV, we need to walk, we need to get on the dinghy to reach that village. So you can see the challenges that we face back in our villages in Papua New Guinea. So I think I need to hand it over to Harun, and thank you very much for listening.
Good afternoon, guys. So we saw the problems in where we come from, Papua New Guinea. If you have not been to Papua New Guinea, it's one of the beautiful places you can go in the Pacific, but however, the most difficult place and terrain to deal with. It's not like the government don't want to, it's just hard to actually put fiber cable over the mountains and into deep forests where the people live. It's such a hard task to do. So the only way we can able to solve this is wirelessly, for now. That's the only way we can do it. So what we do in trying to find the solution is, first, for no electricity, what we try to do is try to find a solar solution. That's, for now, what we are going about. Solar is expensive, but for now, that's the only way we can actually bring quick fix to the problem that the guys are having. And for the high costs of service, we are trying very, very hard with our satellite provider also, negotiate a price that is reasonable enough to be able to compete with the price that they have in the city. So at this time, we'll say we are there, we're able to actually compete with the big companies and even better pricing than they have in the city now. So we are very happy with that, with our solution. And to solve that, we create what we call a SME solution. So we go to the village, we have them also have stake in the game. In other words, they will actually own their equipment and sell the Wi-Fi solutions, the internet solution to the community so that they make money within themselves. So when you're able to make money, the one thing you do is you actually take care of their equipment. If we go and put an equipment there and then say sell a Wi-Fi, they will not care if they don't have any stake in the game. So we're trying to solve that. We'll try to give them some stake, like, okay, put some resources down, we'll help you so that we all can actually able to help the people to get faster internet. We're also discussing with the Ministry of Trade and also to see how they can also help out for those communities that really poor and people will not be able to even have a cent to put down for the assets that we want to put there. So if the Ministry of Trade, we're discussing with them to see how they can build that community, and that community can own an association that they can help, and that association can also sell the internet to the community and make money for themselves. In the monopoly situation that we have there, at this moment, if we want to spread out quickly as we want a licensed spectrum so that we can actually bring down internet on a 4G wireless connection. The license is not available at the moment because all the big players have already licensed and they own ownership of this spectrum. So we're negotiating with the NICTA license holder, and they're trying very, very hard to reduce and release some of those licenses so that they can give it to the small companies for us to be able to compete. So they're working on it, and hopefully by next year, they will be able to have some free license to actually give, able to pass down to us to be able to use. Communication, we are actually in the process of talking to some guys who they call themselves TV white space radio. They're actually building a radio. If you can see what they're doing. There you go.
Even Jeremy Renner was really unimpressed. You say this woman's fleeing for her life.
This is a dangerous type of joke to make because it can easily be confused with putting someone down. But Graham avoids that by keeping it light. He wasn't teasing something core to Elizabeth, like her acting skills. He's simply poking fun at a silly pose. The two rules to keep in mind are don't attack
that radio you see there is free, is on a free license spectrum. It's a radio wavelength on the 8 gigahertz transmission. So in other words, it will transmit free frequency on a radio wavelength, which has only 12.5 Mbps speed. But for a village that has no 4G network, that is a good solution. It's a solar solution where you can just put a small radio down 8 kilometers away, and you have different nodes, up to 4 nodes, and you actually can transfer data through that radio link, transmission link. So we're waiting for them to do proper testing, and once the testing is complete, they're doing one now with a university, that would be part of our solution to improve communication in the villages where it's hard to reach places. So we're just going to go and put one of those equipment there, 8 kilometers away, there's another node, up to 4 nodes, and then we can put a satellite dish in the first node to actually be able to push down some internet through that for them. So in a nutshell, this is what we do. We use a VSAT dish, which is a KU band dish. We bring down the internet. We put for the community an e-library, an e-Granary library, and that e-library will be free. So they can wirelessly communicate with, especially for the students. So the students there, they have their laptops or whatever, they can able to actually connect to the e-library resources and able to research some materials. And then we use Cambium radios, the EPMP 2000 radios, to actually use as our base to actually push their internet data across. So we go by clusters of community. So each cluster of community will put a receiver there, and then we put a Wi-Fi access there, and from there they can able to access the internet. But how do we do that? We do that through the receiver will, the solar will be pumped with a solar solution. And the solar is only about 450 watt panel, solar. So it's not a big panel we need to pump out the solution. We actually build in a mobile SNG truck, which is our own. We actually build in that, and we actually can just put it in a car and we drive anywhere, pack it, and then there is an internet instantly because it's powered by solar. And that's what we do in the central community. We drive down there and then park there and then give them free internet for them to test what we're doing. And the other one that we did was a tuk-tuk. If you want to go, we did a tuk-tuk. We put the dish on the tuk-tuk, and then we drive it around, park it somewhere, just change the configuration of the satellite dish to get our satellite. We locked in, and there you go. And we use a Pacific broadband. Pacific has been the provider that we use with the KU band, and next year, hopefully, we can even have a smaller dish with the KA band coming next year. Fingers crossed. We're still waiting on that. And that's how we're trying to provide practical solution for the problems that people have in the community. So what our vision is? Affordable, reliable, and cheap internet service. That's what we want to do. That's our aim. That's our objective. And I think for now we are getting there. And if we can even get cheaper, it'll be even better. So, and we have, as Vanya also said, we also have a foundation wherein we also go in and help communities and schools with library books, and also with medicine from Texas. We normally get some containers of medicine shipped down to us, and we distribute among the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Vani. Thank you, Rashid. So if there are any questions for our friends from PNG, we still have one more presentation to go, and we are a little bit going to run over time. So any questions from our colleagues from PNG? No? Paula.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, during your rollout or target for the rural area, do you have a plan that trying to connect that of the people in the rural together with the security, or you focus on the trying to connect to the internet, rather security coming later? I mean the network security, the mind trying to awareness for the people.
Yeah, we, at the back end, to Pacific, they provide the security for us. So we don't worry too much. The back end in Townsville, where the servers are and stuff, that's where the network security has been taken care of at the moment. So we don't control that at the moment. We control it through the Pacific server.
Okay. And another, the second question, you focus on one technology or multi-tendency technology?
At this moment, our solution is only one, it's the visa technology at the moment. Moving forward, once the new cable comes in and then we see how it rolls out, we can also tap into that because we're an ISP, we can also apply for space in the cable network as well. But for now, we're only using the visa technology.
Okay. Did you think about the power lines, the data travel on the power lines?
Datacore, which is another company that is responsible for all the cables that comes to the power lines and stuff. So they're handling that, and we are too small to be able to venture into that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
One final question.
Hi, I'm Kajal from Fiji, and a lot of discussions that you have about community and the challenges, I can relate to that because we have kind of similar situations back home, and I mean similar situations in Pacific countries. So just wanted to share with you guys something that back home that we are doing is that sometimes when we take, one of the things is that knowledge transfer back home or back in our countries takes longer to take place. So one of the strategies that Fiji has employed is that we have national budget consultations where we go out, where our government goes out to public. So I was wondering, do you guys have something similar to that back home where instead of going through government machinery, sometimes they don't work, but are you able to provide your proposals that can be submitted, for ideas and innovations? Because I see you guys have some great ideas there, and sometimes perhaps we use bureaucracy is a big issue back in our countries, and sometimes some very good ideas of young people, young companies get shoved off because people do not understand what's happening outside there. So I was wondering, have you guys done any of your submissions, or do you have this kind of opportunities back in PNG? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your
what you do back in Fiji. And I guess a lot of times that we find challenging in terms of submission and knocking on doors to help us to go out and roll what's on the ground, because we are always there making it happen and trying to achieve the vision and things like that. So I think numerous times we've knocked on doors and we're like, oh, bugger that, we should just go ahead and do what we want, we go and achieve. So in action, when they see that and when it spreads out and the word of mouth gets around, then I'm sure that they will definitely come and see us and see where we can be able to connect with them. There's so much interest around the provinces, and we have lined up discussions and see how we can be able to collaborate with the provinces that, there's 22 provinces in Papua New Guinea, so I think we are in 4 provinces already, but we want to cover the whole entire province. So we have done submissions, but it's not successful back in our country. So what we do is that we collaborate and we network with our good partners and donors that also help us, push us to get business, so that we put back money into our business to go and continue our vision back in the rural areas. So that's what we do.
Thank you, Wani.
Just adding to that is we work with some NGOs that we supply them internet. And in return, we earn some money, and that helps us actually to spread out. And so that, and they are very good is they also recommending us to others. So once we start spreading and able to earn money from that, that's what we do. But your question, we don't have what you have. We don't have the forum. No, we don't. I wish we do, because we actually need that so bad.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So now the last presentation is from our friend from OPT, Nike Durand. He's going to talk about the fiber rollout in New Caledonia.
Okay, I'm the one standing between you and the tea break, so I will be fast. But it's a pleasure on behalf of OPT New Caledonia, it's a pleasure to host APNIC 46, of course. Fiber rollout in New Caledonia. So, I suppose that you know where New Caledonia is since you're here, okay? But what you may ignore is that there is 260,000 inhabitants, and 2 out of 3 of them live in Numia or suburbs. That's important. In New Caledonia, we have our own telecom regulation, and OPT New Caledonia has a monopoly on few services like fixed lines, mobile, lease lines, and international connectivity. And we also have 5 ISPs, which I greet, by the way, because they support APNIC 46. So our vision at OPT New Caledonia is to deliver a digital service to everybody, everywhere on the territory, okay? So basically, our projects are always scaled to the whole territory. A few of our major projects, by the way, so we have 4G with 82% of population covered by 4G now. Fiber to the home, which is the main, I will develop afterwards. We are about to choose our supplier for the second international cable. We have Gondwana 1 now. And our billing and technical system, which I won't develop. So, my plan was to set a noise from an old modem, but I will skip this. Okay, few years back, there was 1 and maybe 2 game-changing in internet from New Caledonia. Gondwana was the first one because it allowed us to develop ADSL service and 3G as well. We hope that FTTH and 4G will be the second game-changing service. So basically, since 10 years, we see that the use is skyrocketing. People need more and more internet. So Why deploy fiber to the home? Obviously because of higher bit rates, of course. One specific constraint in New Caledonia is that our customers, they're not familiar with eligibility constraints, meaning that if one cannot be connected to ADSL, it could be reproached to OPT-NC, even if it's only a technical issue. FTTH is more resilient than a copper fiber, of course, and split ratio is far more advantageous for cloud use, of course. So what we hope in OPT New Caledonia is that deploying fiber to the home will allow new services to come, HD, 3D TV, 4K, for example, and multi-device to develop as well. Now we have a park of 80,000 connections, and today we have 10,000 customers connected on fiber, nearly 10,000. Okay, our plan is to have each and every customer connected between now and 2023. We might be late, but we're working on it. So you have a picture of an ONT as well. And last but not least, it is an enterprise project, meaning that each and every agent, colleagues from OPT, is working near or far in these projects. That's all.
Thank you, Nike. Questions for our friend from New Caledonia, please?
Hello, I'm Nicolas Beaufort from Actions New Caledonia. You say at least, I think you said there is 10,000 people connected.
Yep.
Yeah. And we hope that in 2023 we will have how many, please? I didn't quote the number you told us.
Yeah.
How many people do you want to reach in 2023?
The maximum.
That means?
Yeah. As you may know, first plan was to have the whole connections rolled out to fiber in 2023. Okay, but the plan is running late. Okay. I think that Philippe Jarvolino advised yesterday that it would be done by 2025 from our latest expectation.
Okay, because we speak about more or less 60,000 end users more than today. So in 4 years or 5 years, it will be a good deal for us, for local companies in New Caledonia. It will be fantastic. It will be great. So we know that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other question? No? Okay.
Time for tea break?
So I guess that concludes the session about Pacific development of the internet in the Pacific, and I hope that we went from cybersecurity to health to deliver services to the home and alternative business models to run this, and but always keeping in mind why we are doing what we are doing. So I hope that you get inspired and you support small and big projects that are going on in your economies, in your countries, so that the development of the internet continue. All of this capacity building is for something, don't forget. Thank you.